If dating feels impossible, if you are stressed out, burnt out, and feeling like you are never going to find your person, then this episode is a must listen for you. My guest today is Evan Marc Katz. He has been a dating coach since before that job even was in existence. He has been doing this for over 20 years at this point and has helped countless women find love. He talks about the difficulties that people face while navigating the dating waters and the challenges of being single, but he gives a prescription for how to navigate it that makes it so simple, so practical, so actionable that I promise you, if you put everything that he says into practice, you will easily start getting at least one date a week, which is what he recommends. Like, no problem, no sweat. Why was this ever so difficult for me? And hopefully, this will help you date with confidence and get you closer to finding the person that you are meant to be with. This was such an eye-opening episode. I definitely need to have him on again because I don't even think I got to any of the questions that I meant to ask him. Everything we talked about was so important. I'm so excited for you to listen. So here it is. Evan Marc Katz, welcome to You Will Be Okay. I am so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I'm flattered to be here.
Of course. I'm so excited to have you on because I feel like you are the real OG. You've been coaching for what, over 2 decades now?
22 years. Yes, that's correct.
Wow. Unbelievable. So first I want to ask, how did you even get into this? Like before it was even a popular, I feel like there's so many coaches now. How did you get your start?
I mean, I made it up. So I mean, I can't like be too. It's not bragging if it's true, but I mean, it was necessity is the mother of invention. I was a screenwriter in Los Angeles in my 20s, and I did some cool things. Probably the pinnacle of what I did was Project Greenlight with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. I was in the
Cool.
top three in their screenwriting contest in 2001, and I finished third. And then I was like, Matt Damon gives me his email address. He's like, dude, I'm going to work with you one day. And then I never heard from him. I got ghosted by Matt Damon. And so I was like, I can't be the guy who's trying to sell a screenplay when he's 40. And I got a job answering phones at JDate. I mean, it was just like $1,000 customer service getting yelled at by strangers on the phone. But I was using
Wow.
the site and I was like, hey, I noticed you haven't logged in 2 weeks. I noticed your profile only has 2 lines in it. I noticed you wrote to 50 women yesterday. So I just started to offer help as a user of the product. And people loved it. Like, people didn't think that's what customer service was for. They thought customer service was just to process refunds and give people their passwords. And so I said to Jada, hey, how about you charge like $50 a person and call me like the date doctor? And they said, shut up, do your job. And so I'm not really good at shutting up and doing my job. And so after a year of that, I wrote a book about online dating, 2003, called I Can't Believe I'm Buying This Book. And I was a comedy writer. So
Right.
it was easy to write the book. And unlike my Hollywood career, the book did well. And suddenly I was on the Today Show and CNN. And I was just the same penniless screenwriter I was before. I just had a book about online dating. And online dating in 2003 was still in the shadows, right? It had just gone mainstream. August of 2003, the New York Times does a Jennifer Egan New York Times cover story on online dating that kind of legitimized it for the first time. So I was just the right place at the right time. And so I had a business writing people's online dating profiles called eCyrano.com. And then that became like a news story because no one had done that before. And so it was just, I got there early. And then online dating profiles turned into online dating coaching, relationship coaching, focusing exclusively on smart, successful women. So I was really just made it up as I went along. And at a certain point, you're no longer making up, oh, I'm a dating coach. You actually become the thing that you made up.
Right. Right. That's incredible. I love that. Wow. I've been following you for so long, but I did not know your origin story at all. So that
Yeah,
is
I'm
so
not a
interesting.
psychologist. I'm a comedy writer who stumbled into something and ran with it and then became the thing that I set out to be. When you listen to women for 4 hours a day for 20 years, you learn
Right.
something.
Have you always only worked with women or have you also worked with men?
No, and it's a funny part of the story. When I was single, people were like, who the hell are you, single guy, to give anybody advice? And now that I'm married, like, who are you, married guy, to give advice to single women? Who are you,
Right.
man, to talk to women? So there's always going to be some form of skepticism. And
Yeah.
there's always going to be a good answer to the question. When I was single, well, who knows more about being single than a guy who's still single,
Right.
right? If you're a man, well, if you really want to understand men, is it better to talk to men or to women? So there's always like a good answer for the question.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm just a human being who went on 300 online dates and tried to reverse engineer all the things I did wrong and save people the same trouble that I had finding love.
Wow, amazing. And it's just so incredible that you've kept it up for as long as you have. It really is, and have shifted with the times. And speaking of, what do you think has changed the most about how people find love today?
I think we've there are multiple things going on simultaneously. There's no like one, here's the one thing. But when I was dating online in 2010-ish, I think I didn't meet my wife online, but I'm and I love that story too. I didn't meet my wife online, but we were online at the same time, and we never would have chosen each other online.
Right.
It was better because you used old school dating sites. You had a written profile, you would email back and forth. There was some semblance of a courtship process.
Yes, I remember those days. I'm old enough to remember when it was
Okay,
like that as well. Yeah.
so we've removed the profile, we've removed the email, we've removed the courtship. So
Yeah.
now we have photos and swiping and texting. And then we complain, why is it so hard to make conversation? Why doesn't anybody have anything to say? Why are we getting stuck texting forever? The medium created the problem,
Right.
and it's hard for people to transcend it. But because the medium is the only way that people meet people, it's really hard to bring back old school courtship to a medium that doesn't invite it. And people's skills have gotten worse of being curious, flirting, asking questions. Like it's the medium created the problem, and now we're all just downstream of the problem, figuring out how do we get back to something that resembles dating in the 90s.
And how do we? Is that even possible?
Yes, it is
Okay.
completely possible. I mean,
Let's hear it.
that's the premise. That's the premise of my work, and I would assume there's plenty of overlap in our work, respectively.
So it's been said that we're in like a relationship recession right now, that people are not settling down, they're delaying settling down, dating is harder than ever. I feel like what I see a lot is women who and some men, I mostly work with women, but desperately want a relationship but are also so terrified of getting hurt again, so that fear tends to override the desire. So are you seeing that as well? Like, do you think we're in a relationship recession?
I think people haven't changed much, right?
Mhm.
Evolution has not gone that far in the 15 years since the smartphone,
Right.
right? So it's where people are, it's where society is now, and we're all infected by being just way too online
Mhm.
to realize that online is just a medium. Real life is this, what we're doing right now. And so there's so much science around this, right? Like we need to have friction. We need to fail. We need to try things. We need to be less risk averse, because if everything is fearful and everything is rejection and everything is trauma, well, then why even get out of bed in the morning? It doesn't
Yeah.
solve any problems to focus on that. It's one of the ironies of first century America. There's this amazing duality. We could talk about how terrible everything is. And again, the internet is terrible, but people are still not terrible. They're separate things. So the internet's terrible. People are fundamentally still the same people, right? We still want the same things. And when we focus on what's wrong, when would you rather have lived? Would you have rather been a woman in the 1940s? No. Would you rather
No.
be gay in the 1970s? No.
No.
So we can, right, we could hold these two contradictory ideas in our head at the same time. There's a great book by Eli Finkel. I had him on my podcast once upon a time. I recommend you have him. He's great, called The All or Nothing Marriage. And it talks about how there is simultaneously a marriage and relationship recession, and marriages themselves have gotten better over the years, not worse,
That's good to know.
which makes perfect sense because people have evolved,
Yeah.
especially the educated upper class people. So
Mhm.
men today are better and more understanding and tolerant and understanding women's roles and accepting equality and egalitarian relationships than the Mad Men generation. So we just kind of have to take the good and focus on the good
Right.
instead of focusing on the bad. And so I'll say something that might be controversial. Most of your audience is women. Let's just say, and it might be harrowing, that validating your perspective, 90% of men are just not capable of being your husband. Would anybody argue with that?
I don't think so.
Right. So
Right.
if that's true, let's say it's true. So, okay, so there's only 10% of men who have the goods, cute enough, smart enough, emotionally available enough to be really great partners. Not just cute, not just smart, not just charismatic, not just rich, but men, emotionally available, relationship oriented men. So great. Let everybody else date the 90%, focus on the 10%, choose one. That's an achievable goal. And that's literally everything you've ever done if you're a smart, strong, successful woman. You're in the
Right.
top 10% of education. You're out in the top 10% of income. You've done it before. So
Mhm.
why is this impossible? It's not.
Right. Right. And I love how you really distill it down to its most basic form. But then what is it that you think? What do you think women often misunderstand about the process of finding a lasting relationship?
Gosh, where would one begin? I think that if we start just where we are today with the conversation we're having right now, I think, as you said, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of mistrust, and the medium itself doesn't lead to deeper connections. So we have to transcend that. We have to do better than the tools we're given. And that's where we get into the idea that dating and relationships are a skill. And the fact that there are women like you and thousands of other dating coaches now who are doing some version of what we're doing, right? Helping other folks is proof of concept that dating is no different than HTML coding or playing piano. It's a thing that you can improve on. And most people I talk to have one strong muscle, and that's their work, friendship, travel muscle. And then their relationship muscle is kind of atrophied. And it would be very easy and somewhat accurate to blame dating sites and your city and men and da 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 da. And that doesn't get us any closer to our goal. So,
Right.
given the reality, like given where we are, what's within our power to do something differently? And in my coaching, there's 200 things you can do differently, and all of them collectively add up to people being successful in love. It's not mysterious. It's
Mhm.
just not what you do for a living. I couldn't come and do your job if you are a marketing manager at a tech firm. So just understanding that there is a way to go about this that's not impossible, it's not mysterious, it's within your control, hopefully gives people more optimism and agency that the thing that they're trying to achieve is indeed achievable and not a waste of time.
Right. And I love that. And I think that it's so important that you're hammering in this message that it is achievable because I know that a lot of women say it feels impossible. So I feel like it would be fun for us to get a little granular and I'll give you some scenarios and you give the scenario some advice. Okay. Like these are some of the
Yeah.
most common things I see.
No.
Yes. Okay. So let's say you have a woman who is late 40s, early 50s, anywhere in that age bracket. She is divorced. She has had kids. She is very scared she's going to end up alone. She still has a whole big chunk of life ahead of her.
Yes.
She says that there's no men left. The guys her age, they only want to date younger. They want women in their 30s. And there's just no pool of men to choose from, which is not true. But that's how it feels to her. And she feels like I'm too old, I'm out of time, it's not going to happen. What is your advice there?
I hope this conversation, this dialogue makes it clear. I'm an advocate for women. I didn't even answer your question. I don't coach men because I did for the first 5 years of my career. 80% of the people who turned to me were women.
Right.
I just made up dating coach. It wasn't a thing. So I just
Right.
took on everybody. My first program, Finding the One Online, was a unisex product for men and women. And at a certain point, I realized men need help. Women ask for help.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
again, to pile on to men, it is a problem that men aren't more curious about understanding women and developing the skill set. Right. So that's a real thing. It's not imagined. Most complaints, right, are real and not imagined. So I want to validate any woman's complaints. And when I'm trying to be optimistic here, it's just a glass half full, glass half empty situation. I'm acknowledging your half empty glass. Right. But you also have to acknowledge my glass half full. And so that's all this is about, is acknowledging that there is a glass half full and there's ways to go about it. So if we're talking about a woman who is divorced and complaining about ageism in the dating pool, We need to be reality based. We need to acknowledge what she's experiencing and talk about the other side of it. So around age 50 is where the gender divide flips and men become more desirable and have more options on the internet than women, right? This is not objectively about who's better or anything like that. But younger women, as we all know, have a lot more options than younger men.
That's not always a good thing, having too many options,
I
but
didn't,
yes,
right, these
true.
are all different sets of problems. But if you are a 25-year-old man versus a 25-year-old woman, if you're a 25-year-old woman, you have everybody from 20 to 60 writing to you. And if you're a 25-year-old guy who's trying to get his career underway, you might get by on being hot, but you're not really going to get the cream of the crop as a 25-year-old guy.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's true.
And so that flips over mathematically, according to studies, right, where women then have to lean in and have to sometimes reach out to men. You can't just be a passive participant in your love life, right? Women start to understand what it's like to be a man and have to write emails or texts and reach out. And it's challenging. But rejection's part of online dating,
Yes.
right? Like I told you before the call, I went on 300 dates. Do you think everybody liked me? Of course not.
No. No.
No, you're supposed to say yes. Of course, everybody
Of
liked you.
course, who wouldn't?
No, but I mean, someone's going to be like, this guy's really opinionated. This guy has a slight speech impediment. This guy has big ears. This guy is 5'9". Like, there's a million reasons you could pass me up. But what did I not do? I didn't spend any time worrying about the people who passed me up. Their loss.
Yeah.
Their loss.
Right.
And my dating pool consists of the women who do find me compelling. Right.
Yes.
So this is dating, right? I'm going to do my hand gestures for the non audio listeners. It's a Venn diagram. Here's all the people that I want to date. Here's all the people who want to date me. Why don't these two circles intersect? And
Hmm.
that's literally every single person on the planet. It's not just women, right?
Right.
If you're single, every person you want doesn't want you, and every person who wants you, you don't want. That's the condition of being single.
Okay.
So, in my world, how do we get those two circles to overlap by 10%? And now we are in business. So,
Right.
I think we have a bias when we go online and we get really frustrated that 9 out of 10 guys are not for you. Well, I just told you that. You shouldn't be surprised by that. 9 out of 10 guys who write to me online, who match with me on Bumble, are not for me. Okay. When you go to Macy's, do you buy all the clothes?
No.
No, you walk around for like an hour, you take 3 things off the rack, you might leave with 1.
Right.
Do you get angry at Macy's?
No.
No.
I never thought about it like
So
this,
why
but
do we
yes.
get so upset at reality? Most people aren't your guy.
But what if, like, okay, I feel like the question is, you said we need to make that diagram overlap. And one thing I remember I experienced a lot in my love life was wanting the guys who didn't want me and not wanting the guys who did want me. And that was my own personal stuff that led into that. But
Everybody,
a lot of women, what?
that's everybody.
Right, but like but then that felt almost impossible for me for a long time, and I know a lot of women have that experience. So what do you say, like, how do you get that overlap to happen? Is it just that, like, you need to keep
What's the definition of insanity?
doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results?
So, what are the number of things we can do differently to produce a different result? And if
Okay.
we're starting at the top, and again, without knowing anybody here, what anybody's doing, right? I'm not, if I'm saying something you don't like, I'm not attacking you. I'm not making you wrong. You don't have to listen to me. It doesn't matter. But if we were to run down a checklist, you and I, of best practices, I liken it. I joke about being a personal trainer. Someone who's trying to lose 25 pounds, right? What's the system to do that? You would go to a personal trainer or a dietitian and they would tell you to work back and bis and chest and tries and to do a half hour of high intensity cardio and to eat more leafy greens and lean meats and I don't know shit about anything. But like there's a system to do that. And the more you adhere to the system, the more likely you are to produce the result. So I would ask the question from the top of any stranger. Are you dating online? If you're not dating online, really hard to meet people, hard to find love without meeting people. Hard to
Mhm.
meet people if you're a single woman living in the suburbs working from home. So, A, are you getting online a half hour a day? If you're not, you're not really in the game. B, have you maximized your photos? Have you taken photos that men like? Have you road tested it? Have you found out what men like? Have you rewritten your profile in a way that's compelling to the opposite sex because that's who your buyer is? Have you marketed towards the opposite sex? Do you know how to flirt? Right? Do you know how to banter? Do you know how to read a guy's profile and pick up a detail that you could initiate contact and say something clever instead of doing what you hate when men do? Hey, what's up? Great profile.
Yeah.
Right? Do you pace things right? Do you get stuck in texting hell? Right? Does it escalate? Are we rewarding men who escalate? Are we talking to 7 to 10 men at the same time? Because if you're not, it's hard to find one date a week, and you should be going on one date a week. Are you screening guys by FaceTime prior to the date, or are you just meeting total strangers and wondering why I go on so many bad dates? Well, you're not screening anybody, you're not vetting anyone, you're not building any trust. Are you showing up on a first date in such a way that 90% of guys are going to be like, this is the best date I've ever had? There's a skill to that.
Yeah.
So I just laid out like 10 things off the top of my head that you could do different. And we haven't even gotten to the dating part. So these are all like little things, and add those things up. And one other thing, search criteria, the thing we don't want to talk about. Right? Definition of insanity. I hinted at the story that my wife and I didn't meet online. Well, we did not. We were on Match. We didn't meet on Match. Why? I wasn't looking for a woman 3 years older. She wasn't looking for a Jewish guy.
Right.
So what does that tell you? There's nothing wrong with Match, but there is something wrong with the way we were doing our searches, that we were filtering each other out.
And I've heard that story a lot where
A million
people
times.
meet their partner and they're like, we were both on the same apps and we never would have met because I filtered them out.
Right. So our filters are wrong. That's the huge thing. I could quintuple your dating pool on this call.
Right.
Right. Go from 5'10" to 5'7", right? Raise your maximum age range another 3 to 5 years. Boom. We just did it.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're right. I mean, okay, I also really like what you said about doing a FaceTime call as a pre-screen, because people don't really do that. And there's so much you can tell. Like sometimes I remember this going on a first date with a guy I met online and sitting down and knowing immediately, oh my God, this is just going to be torture for the next hour. Like I'm not, this is just not it. And so many times you can filter that out through a phone call and a FaceTime call. Like you could just get a sense of someone's energy, their vibe, your dynamic. But so many people are resistant to do that.
Right. So now we say, well, what's wrong with technology and people these days?
Yeah.
People think that phones are designed for texting. And
Yes.
that's the most ubiquitous form of communication, is texting. The problem is it's also the worst form of communication. It's
Yeah.
not a way to get to know someone, nor is it a way to
Right.
keep in touch with someone. It is
Yeah.
literally the lowest form of communication. It is, I'm running 5 minutes late,
Mhm.
or thinking of you, hope you're having a good day. That should be the use of texting. Anything more is the wrong use of texting, but that's just me being the old man yelling at a cloud. So
Right.
in a more practical sense, I would ask your listeners, if you were in charge of your love life, and by the way, you are, and I were to say, you can go on 3 blind Starbucks dates with total strangers that you texted 3 times, or you could go out with one guy you're kind of excited about meeting on a Saturday night. Which one do you choose?
I mean,
There's only one answer to the question,
yes.
but everybody does the first one.
Right.
And
You're
that's
right.
within your control. So even if the world doesn't trend towards courtship, you can nudge guys into courtship. And the right guy is going to want to please you, but
Mhm.
you have to lead him there. And that's a skill, right? Like you ever watch, like, this is cheesy, but you ever watch Dancing with the Stars?
I've seen like clips. I don't like
You know,
fully commit
I
to
don't watch
watching
it,
it.
but like I've watched it. And what they do is they take these professional female dancers, and those women make dorky guys look good.
Yes.
They're, what it's called in dancing is back leading. The guy
Mm.
doesn't know how to lead, so she kind of shows him what to do. I
Mhm.
teach women to back lead men, to nudge them into courtship behavior that they otherwise wouldn't engage in. And now, when you go on a date with a guy, it's because you've been flirting with him all week. It's because
Mhm.
you've talked on the phone, maybe multiple times, and now you're really comfortable giving 3 hours on a Saturday night. It's not weird because he's not a stranger, and he's less likely to flake. And you know what he looks like, because he, like, We're trying to recreate the old ways of online dating by making texting into email, right? And getting removing texting for the most part and getting to a FaceTime conversation because it's the best approximation of a real life date. And
Yeah.
anybody who skips those steps and says, I don't want to do it, guys don't like it, I don't like it, I just want to meet, that's the problem with 2025. People are afraid. It's instant gratification. And this whole thing I'm talking about would be called deliberate dating, right? Slowing down and operating from a place of abundance and confidence and trust, which is the opposite. Most people do fear-based dating. What's the least amount of time I could spend getting to know this person? What is the least vulnerability? How could I meet them for a half hour and have something scheduled right afterwards so I can get out? And notice you'll never have a great date if you do it that way.
Yeah.
If I asked your listeners to imagine the best possible date in the world, like close your eyes and think of if you could have a dream date, what would it be? Nobody dreams of a Starbucks date.
Right.
So why do we insist on going on dates with guys that we didn't vet?
Right.
It's literally the opposite. So my coaching is literally doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing.
Right. And I think that everything you're describing, I think is going to come back into fashion and the mainstream because I feel like, especially right now in this moment of time with the use of AI, you can't even trust what you're reading in a dating profile anymore. It could have been generated by ChatGPT. The photos could be AI. It is so hard to discern what's real and what's not. And so I feel like you're going to have to like bring back the real like let's get on a phone call beforehand communication because I don't think we're really going to be able to trust the apps for that much longer unless people are all being super super honest, authentic and actually being themselves, but I don't know. I don't know how many people are
And
utilizing.
they won't
Yeah.
because whenever there's a tool that allows us to cheat, we'll cheat.
For sure. So then that's it.
Right. If a
Then
college
that's
kid gets
it.
assigned a paper and he could write a paper in 5 minutes instead of spending a few weeks researching and writing, you're just giving that to them. So I've had clients, and these are my clients are usually, 40s to 60s for the most part, right? They've asked me in my coaching, is it okay if I use AI to text, to flirt? And I
Mhm.
said, I'm not going to give you the moral argument against it. My question is, if you found out that a guy was using AI to write his text messages, how would you feel about that? So everybody could justify why they do it. Everybody can justify why they lie about their age, but he should never do it. I'm just Switzerland on this one.
Yeah.
I just think that there are better ways to go about things than others. And if we just subcontract compatibility to AI, because that's the next thing coming, is every dating site's going to try to figure out how to use AI. If we subcontract compatibility to AI and conversation to AI, it'll facilitate more dates, but none of it's going to replicate whether two people can be compatible for a lifetime. The only way to do that is to date a whole bunch of people and figure out what feels right to you. And that's a completely different thing we haven't talked about today. We've been all online, but we haven't even talked about what a good relationship looks and feels like.
Oh, we're going to do that next. So my next question is let's talk about the spark for a minute because a lot of women I see have this expectation that there should be, with the right person, there should just be this immediate spark, like from the beginning. It should be snap, crackle, pop, right? What is your take on that? And also, what is your take on slow burn relationships?
The best relationships for people, not best, the easiest relationships for people are ones where they don't have to think. So the
Yes.
great part about having magical 10 plus plus chemistry is that your critical thinking goes out the window. So I'm not against 10 plus plus chemistry. The problem is if I asked, again, I'm doing the same thing a lot here. If I asked your listeners, think about the guys in your life that you had the 10 plus plus chemistry with. Are you with them right now? The answer, of course, is no. So it's not that it's a bad feeling, it's that it historically isn't a great predictor of your future. The oh my God, you just know doesn't have a good track record because it often blinds us to people's flaws for a really long period of time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love the way that you put that. How
So
does,
I'm not anti-chemistry. People hear this and he's telling us to settle, he's telling us to settle, he's telling us to settle. I believe very strongly that you don't know when you've met the right guy. Sometimes like, it's the broken clock. You'll meet someone who's like, the second I saw my husband, I knew he was the one. And 30 years later, here we are. You don't hear about the 100 stories of the people who just knew that they were right for each other that imploded. We hear the ones that lasted. So those are the stories that we latch onto.
Yes.
So I'm not, again, anti, oh my God, you just know. But in general, slow pacing allows more data to make good decisions over time. So if I were in charge, I'm not, but if I were in charge, I wouldn't sleep with anybody who's not my boyfriend. I wouldn't make anybody my boyfriend for a good 4 to 6 weeks. I wouldn't say I love you to anybody for 3 months. I wouldn't move in with anyone for at least a year and a half. I wouldn't get engaged for 2 years. These are, and again, it's not me. This is what the data shows, that everybody has a story of hopping into bed with someone, falling in love with someone, moving in with someone, right? And thinking you're on a great track. And then you realize when the haze wears off, I hate the person I'm with. This person's a narcissist psychopath. How does this keep happening to me? It's because you're going 100 miles an hour. And if you're going 100 miles an hour, you're going to miss your exit or you're going to crash the car. So when we talk about slowing down, we're talking about going 65. We're just talking about the normal speed limit of conventional courtship. And if I told you that you can go out with a guy on 8 to 10 dates over 4 to 6 weeks before you had to make any big decisions to avoid making bad choices, feels like a good trade-off.
Yeah. I love that. So, how would you say, or like, what advice do you have to help women assess fundamental compatibility and not get lost in the haze of the chemistry? Because I do believe you need both. You need chemistry, you need fundamental compatibility, and you also need a commitment to making it work from both sides. Like, those are my three C's of knowing if your relationship will last. So, what is your advice for honing in on the things that actually matter and not getting lost in the weeds of the things that don't matter?
There's a lot of steps here, so this is going to get a little, we're going to get in the weeds a little bit.
Okay.
And again, it's nobody's fault. It's just the problem for people, I'll speak to women, is that most women are so wary of getting hurt or wasting time. That's their agenda. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to waste my time. Terrible way to go into a date.
Yeah.
Right. Imagine a guy that was his attitude about dating. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to waste my time. Not pleasant. So I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to waste my time is organic when you've wasted your time and gotten hurt. That's a very natural reaction. So we're trying to read the last page of the book. In 90 minutes, I'm going to try to figure out what's wrong with this guy so I don't get hurt and waste my time. So
Yeah.
that's going to be a terrible date because you're going to be interrogating him. B, you're trying to read the last page of a book that hasn't even been written yet because he doesn't know where it's going. You don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going.
Right.
We have to resist the temptation to figure it all out right away. We actually have to live with uncertainty.
People hate that.
I
Nobody
know,
wants
but
that.
you have to.
I
You
know.
have no choice. Because
Right.
when you try to interview someone for the part of husband, it doesn't work. If I played that card, you know what would have happened? Hey, honey, I'm a Jewish atheist. I know that doesn't make much sense. So before we order the Caesar salad, are you open to having Jewish children even though you went to Catholic school for 16 years? By the way, what's your last name? That's a terrible first date. Right? But that's what people are doing. They're interviewing. So, first date, we're looking for feelings. We're not trying to figure out the whole story. We don't have a scorecard. We're not asking him gotcha questions. Here's the questions you should ask him to find out the red flags. No. Pay attention to how you feel at the end of the date. Comfort. Could I be myself? Could I relax? Fun. Would I want to do this again? Attraction. Speaks for itself. Positive scores. 6 and above.
What about because some of the things that you mentioned there with you and your wife could be deal breakers for certain people, especially if religion does really matter and they only want to marry within their religion and the way they raise their kids does matter. When would you when do you like filter that
This
out?
this is one of the things, again, we have to be smart enough to hold contradictory ideas in our head at the same time. I would never tell a woman to date a guy for a year if she had no idea if he wanted kids. That's silly.
Very silly.
I also don't think you should be interviewing someone on the first date about whether he wants kids. I think A, he says it on his profile, and B, you know one thing I can guarantee you? Guarantee. If you're dating a guy for a month and he wants kids, he'll bring it up. How do you know if a guy likes fantasy football? He'll tell you about his stupid fantasy football team. How do you know if a guy wants to get married? He'll talk about it. If he doesn't talk about it, guess what? He doesn't want it.
Right.
So It's not. You just have to trust that over the course of time, the story will lay out. We're trying to figure things out too quickly. And that's why timing is really important. Like, if I negotiated the religion of my children on the first date, I would not have my wife and my children. You
Yeah.
see how that backfires.
Right.
When she was invested in me, and she saw my take. I wasn't asking her to convert. This
Yeah.
isn't nobody wants this. We created something that we couldn't have imagined when we first started dating.
Right.
That's the unknown. So at the beginning, we put aside our agenda to figure out the end of the story, right? And we focus on how did I feel? Comfort, fun, attraction. Because we could flip this thing around and be like, you don't understand, Evan. This is really important. Like, I got to know. Here's another way to determine why this is a terrible idea to interview someone on a first date. Imagine a guy who he and his wife lost attraction for each other and they stopped having sex, right? For the past 3 years before he got divorced. So first date, he's like, hey, I know it's a little premature, but do you like giving oral sex? Because I got to tell you, my wife stopped doing that for me and it's really important. So just, I mean, not do you do it, but do you like it? It's a perfectly reasonable question that is entirely wrong to ask someone on a first date. It will arise. You'll discover it. We have to allow ourselves a grace period of allowing the story to unfold. Because if we start doing this stuff, what's your take on Palestine and Israel? Like, did you vote for the orange guy? Like, we could do this and it does matter. I
Yeah.
just think we're kind of ruining dating.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So you mentioned that the first date is just how do I feel? Okay. What comes
Comfort, fun,
first?
attraction at the beginning,
Yeah.
but you can't tell compatibility from the beginning of dating.
Right.
You
When do
can't.
you say, when can you tell compatibility by?
You can't tell compatibility until you've integrated your lives and tried it on for size.
Right.
I'm looking at the shoe on the rack. How do I know walking around the city with it for a day? You don't
Right.
know until you put on the shoe.
Yes. So you don't know until you actually like date. Dating is just discovery. That's something I
The
say a lot.
2 years of dating
Yeah.
is how you tell compatibility. And you get out, this is the key, when you discover you're incompatible. The problem is not that you could tell that you're compatible. I couldn't have known my wife and I were compatible. We're celebrating 17 years this week. I
Oh,
couldn't have known
congratulations.
that. We're nothing alike on paper. In reality, it's easy and it's comfortable and we're best friends and we laugh and all that cliched stuff, but you would never put us together. This is the point. Our relationship got better and better and better over time. Other people's peaks up here because most people are just trying to date the opposite sex version of themselves. We're all
Yeah.
basically narcissists. So compatibility is this easy? So the key for women is you can't know if you're choosing the right person. You can know comfort, fun, and attraction. But when things start to feel off, that's when you have to fire them. You can't hold on to a relationship where you cannot let down your guard, where you can't be yourself, where you can't have meaningful discussions, where you're feeling anxious. It's listening to those feelings of anxiety and pulling the trigger. So you can't guarantee that each rando guy that you go out with on 5 dates is the one, but you can cut those guys loose after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, instead of giving them 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. That's where your power lies.
Yes.
It's
That's
like wanting
so
to know, is
good.
the food going to taste good without trying the food? You actually have to try the food.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. What would you say the number one sign that somebody has found the one is? What
The
is it?
absence of anxiety.
Yeah. That's what I mean, I was gonna say, my answer is like feeling safe and secure, which is basically the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love is not butterflies. It's the absence of that, which for
Yes.
most people is really a foreign feeling. And I know we get into your line of work.
Yes. Yes. I love that answer. Okay. I want to shift gears because the way that I first discovered you was you were featured in a book written by someone else. And I tried to find the name of this book, but I couldn't. Do you know the book that I'm talking about?
Here's my love shelf behind me.
Okay, this is the one about the woman who is single and really struggling, and then she hires a dating coach and works closely with him. And that was you, right? Like you were the one. Okay, so I read this book in my 20s. The book kind of scared me. I'm not gonna lie.
It's supposed to be a cautionary tale.
It was a cautionary tale. I was terrified by the end of that book. I think I honestly can't even remember because obviously, like this was a very long time ago. That was how I got introduced to you. And what I remember from that book was that she was So picky, and that was something that you were working with her on. And I still remember to this day the opening chapter about, like, you're in the elevator going up and up, and the women just get pickier and pickier, and then, like, there's no men left because they just want everything. So talk to me about women being too picky. Is this actually true? Is it I have standards? Like, what are you seeing?
Let's remove the word picky because everybody hates the word.
Yes.
And let's remove the word settling because everybody hates the word. She didn't make this title, the publisher did, and she got a
Right.
lot of shit for it. Lori is a big deal, right? Her next book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone, was like major New York Times bestseller. She now writes for the New York Times. She was writing for the Atlantic. She's an extraordinary intellect.
I didn't even know that connection that she wrote. I heard maybe you should talk
She
about,
dated my roommate 30 years ago. She got me my first book agent. We
wow.
wrote a TV sitcom together, and it turns out that she needed a dating coach because she wrote an article and got a book deal out of it, but didn't know what the book was about. So she consulted me. I was like, "You got to interview all these people," and so
Yeah.
her book. The through line was me kind of coaching her on her own romantic journey. And she's a great, great writer. The title turned off so many people that they couldn't hear the message. So let's get away from the word picky. I would say people tend to be picky on the wrong characteristics. So
Mhm.
let's make that distinction. Most people are picky on the dating app characteristics: height, weight, age, education, income, religion, politics. We are very picky. What
Mhm.
are we not picky on? The stuff that's not on the website:
Yeah.
character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment. Those are the things that will determine whether you're married.
Yeah.
And if you're missing one of those 5 things that I just mentioned, you're not going to have a happy marriage, even if he's a top chef, supermodel, Rhodes Scholar who votes the same way that you do.
Right.
Any
So what
one of those things will sink your relationship.
yeah.
So we need to be pickier and raise our standards on character, kindness, consistency, communication, commitment, which is, how does he treat me? How do I feel? That being with a guy where you can't communicate, where you can't relax, that is settling. It's not going out with the guy who makes a little less money than you.
What about okay, so what about this scenario where a woman is dating a guy and he's wonderful and he treats her like a queen and she feels good around him, all those things, but she's not super attracted to him, and that's getting in her head. Like, she doesn't have that intense, like, fiery pull towards him. And then she's idolizing her toxic ex who she did have that with. And she's like, why can't I have both?
And that's why whatever we talk about here, any dating coaching needs to be customized to you and your tastes. Like Sabrina and I, we're just kind of laying out paradigms. You have to figure out how it overlays onto you. So at the beginning, as I said, for a first date, when you're just looking at someone, our cutoff is like a 6. It's like a positive score. Like, if he tried to kiss me, would I kiss him back? It's not, oh my God, I want to jump his bones. Like, it's not that, right? Most of the relationships I've seen started off as 6s or 7s and moved up to 9s and 10s when they fell in love, when they started having sex. But if you are with someone and the sex is no good and the attraction is under a 5, then you need to get out. Like, any dating coach will tell you that, right? I think dating coaches try to occupy that middle space. Don't overvalue chemistry, because it's easy to be in a bad relationship where you have a lot of chemistry, right? But if you swing to the opposite end of the spectrum and you overcorrect and just say, I'm going to go out with the first nice guy who comes along, well, you're going to sleep with one person for the rest of your life. You should be content with that. And that's important too. So my made up numbers, and everything I say is made up. Like, if you're like, oh, this guy's a lot, all these things are made up. You could take them, you could leave them, right? 7 chemistry, 10 compatibility is a great life. And I would bet if you asked your happily married friends, they would tell you candidly that's about where they land.
Love that. What about a woman who feels like no one ever measures up? She's like, I don't like anyone in the apps. I don't like anyone in person. What inner work might she need to do?
Someone said something wise to me the other day. I haven't integrated it into my coaching. So I'm just trying, I'll throw it out to you and you see what you can make of it. He's got a 13-year-old, 14-year-old son like I do. And his son isn't very popular and he's having a hard time. So the kid's having a hard time, the dad's having a hard time. And his son was saying it's because he doesn't like anybody. He doesn't like this group of people, so he ends up sitting alone at lunchtime. And the dad said, when I was in high school, the thing that I remembered was I think the reason I was popular was because I liked everybody,
Mm.
which I thought was really profound. The more people you like, the more people like you. And it becomes a symbiotic cycle. So when you are in a positive place or you're a positive person, you bring that out. I kind of like people. Like I just do. I like most human beings. Even I could acknowledge all the bad in the world. On a one-to-one basis, I like most human beings. I don't like mob mentality. I don't like tribes. I don't like the internet. But sit down and just talk to a stranger, I like most people. And if you kind of go into a date thinking the best, you're likely to have a good interaction. If you go into a date thinking the worst, you're likely to have a bad interaction, which is not to blame her for her taste. But let's just go into things with a positive frame, right? Positive to neutral. What's the worst thing that happens? I go out to dinner, I make conversation with a stranger. He tries to kiss me at the end of the night. I say no. That's really the way we should approach dating, is from this sort of positive to neutral stance instead of everybody gives me the ick. Okay, I mean, you're entitled to feel that way, but again, I'm a parent. If you give your kid food and they don't, and all they eat is chicken nuggets, and you know, I'm not going to like that. You haven't tried it yet. I know I'm not going to like it. It's got green in it. We could approach dating that way. I
Right.
just know that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So it's not a matter of judging or blaming people for how they actually feel. I don't like anybody. I'm not attracted to anybody. At a certain point, we have to recognize it's a you problem, because who else can we change? Again, we can't change men or Bumble or New York City. We can't change anything.
Yeah.
So how are we going to learn to evolve? And if the answer is I would rather die alone than go out with a 5'8" guy, okay,
Right.
that's a choice. But if I were God and I said I could hand you a man who would love you unconditionally and treat you like gold and listen to you after a hard day and make you laugh and make you come, and he happens to be 5'8", most people wouldn't say no to that.
Right. Well, I would say no to that, but I'm a tall girl. But I get very annoyed when short girls say no to that because I'm like, oh, come on.
But this is across the board. I had a client, I was on the CBS early show with him 20 years ago. He was 5'3". He was a cute guy. When he listed himself at 5'10", women threw themselves at him. When he listed himself at 5'3", it was crickets.
Oh, poor
But he
guy.
was holding out for a really attractive woman. And I was like, the economics don't work. You're not wrong for wanting someone that you find really attractive. What you don't seem to recognize is that she has to make a major compromise that she didn't see herself making to be with you. So this is why I just look at it as free market economics. It's not a matter of judgment or blame. Our dating pools collectively consist of the people who want to date us.
Yeah.
So if I insist, right, as a 53-year-old guy, that I don't date anybody older than 40, well, if all the 40-year-old women are like, who's the guy with the gray hair who's writing to me, then I guess I'm going to have to adjust, aren't I?
Yeah. I love how you make it so simple. Like it really is. We overcomplicate these things. I do want to mention that earlier, I think you held up the book, but we didn't say the name. So for anyone listening on audio, the name of the book was Marry Him, right?
Marry Him, The Case for Settling for Mr. Goodenough by Lori Gottlieb.
Yes.
And it's an ass kicker of a book where she, Stanford, Yale, PR,
Right.
doctorate, right, tends with the fact that when she was in her early 30s, she was holding out for a 10.
Yeah.
And then when she reached her late 30s, she's like, I can't find a 10. I can't even find any eights. All I'm finding are fives. Maybe I should have made some compromises earlier. So it's kind of her journey to figuring out how a quality woman like her ended up single,
Right. Okay,
right?
so 26-year-old Sabrina who read that book, I was terrified. It filled me with anxiety, and I don't even remember what I did with the book because I definitely don't have it anymore.
A lot of people have a visceral reaction to the book, but there's nothing in the book that I would change.
No, that book had a really big impact on me, honestly. Like, I think the book made me angry because it made force me to confront things about myself that I didn't want to, like my standards and pickiness. I think that's why I got mad at the book, not because it was a bad book. I think it was just forcing me to face myself. At least I was 26 at the time that I read it, but I was like, oh my God, this could easily be me. And I don't want that to be me. I don't want to be in my late 30s and still single and trying to figure this out. Like, I want to have babies, I want to get married. So I think that that book really forced me to look at myself. So you know what? Like think that book was a good thing for me. I'm not meaning to hate on the book.
It's okay. I'm gonna take it personally. I think women, because they solicit advice online through Instagram podcasts, what have you. The easiest advice to take is you're perfect, men suck. You'll never go poor telling women that you're perfect and men suck. You won't learn anything, but it's
Right.
very validating to hear,
Yes.
right? Like I just got into a thing on Facebook with a whole bunch of women who were piling on to me because I said it's harder to get pregnant at 40 than it is at 30. And that seems to be the wrong message to share.
Yeah.
For example, but it's not an attack, right? If we were giving advice to men, it would look the same, right?
Mhm.
Hey, bro, you understand that you have to write something more interesting than hey. And you
Yeah.
can't just text her every morning, how's your day, baby? And wonder why she's not enthralled by you. And you
Yeah.
can't just passively wait for her to ask you out or say you want to come over and hang,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
why are you not doing well? You're not doing what women want. It's on you to adjust that. That's easy for people to hear.
Yeah, I think you really need to be coaching men as well. But unfortunately, our time is running short, even though I don't even think I asked like any of the questions in
I
my notes.
talk too much. I'm sorry.
No, you don't. This has been so, so good. It's been so good. But unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. So let's do some quick rapid fires. And I'm probably going to have you back. We need part two. I didn't even really ask any of my questions, but I feel like we covered so much that is so important. Okay, let's do some rapid fires. What is the biggest dating myth you wish would die forever?
Relationships take work.
What is one dating rule women should definitely break?
One dating rule that women should definitely break. Whew, that's a
I heard
challenging
you
one.
say one earlier.
I
Like
mean,
one
I've got like 1,000 of them. I'm just trying to figure out if I have one dating rule that they should break. I think they should break the idea. I think women should be more in their feminine, and it's talked about a lot. I believe that women shouldn't have to chase down men. And if you're texting him, when can I see you? When are we hanging out?
Mm.
I think I want to break you of the habit of trying to remind him you're alive.
Yeah. Oh my God. I always say that you don't need to remind the right person for you that you exist. Okay. What is one thing your happily married clients all have in common?
These are great questions, and I love the fact that I don't have easy answers to them. So
Yeah.
the
That
fact
is
that
the
I'm
thing.
stumbling is a good thing. What's one thing that they all have in common? None of them believed when they started working with me that they could have an easy relationship with a quality man who consistently made them feel safe, heard, and understood. They didn't believe it existed.
I love that. And it worked out. Okay, Evan, you're a master. You are brilliant. And I do remember when I read that book, I was like, if I'm still single, like at a certain point, I'm gonna hire this guy. So why don't you tell everyone where they could find you and how they can work with you?
So I created a link for your listeners, and I've
Oh,
been trying to locate it on my computer while we're talking, and I can't seem to find it. I will add it in the show notes.
amazing.
What's the name of your podcast?
You will be okay.
I it's either evanmarckatz.com/Sabrina or evanmarckatz.com/okay. But
Okay, we'll put
they
it in
could
the show
they
notes.
could
Yeah,
go on there, and I think it's my 10 men report. 10 men you should absolutely not date. And
I love it.
the hard part is you're probably dating one right now.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here. This was so enlightening, so incredible, so packed with value. For everyone listening, thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to rate, review, leave us a comment if you're on YouTube or Spotify. And if you have a friend that needs to hear this, send it over to her. I guarantee you have a few of them. Thanks again for being here, and I will see you next time.